Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about this tragedy in Texas where a man went into a church in some small town in Texas and proceeded to shoot and kill people. He killed 26 people. Now, according to the authorities, it appears that this man was lashing out at his in laws. There had been some exchanges between him and his in laws in text messages. So, this may be a result of that. So, you had all these people killed. And apparently, this man had been convicted of domestic violence. He had been convicted of violence against his ex wife and also violence against his stepson. He allegedly fractured his stepson's skull. And according to the law, this man should not have been able to purchase a firearm. But because of some lapse in judgment, he was able to purchase a firearm. He was dishonorably discharged when he was in the armed forces because of that conviction. And for some reason, they didn't pass on the information. Now, I'm sure that the victims and their family members are looking for ways to probably sue the authorities for this lapse in judgment. If I was representing them, I would be looking at legal options at this point because that's a gross sign of negligence that they would allow this man to purchase these weapons, that they would fail to pass on this information to authorities. All those lives lost because of that lapse in judgment. So I'm sure that, attorneys are looking for possible ways to sue. And I don't know, I haven't done the research or anything like that, but there are grounds for immunity and stuff like that. And I don't know if that would apply to this situation. But I'm sure that lawyers are looking into it because this is horrible. This is a horrible tragedy that could have been prevented. And the sad thing is, despite this tragedy and all these other tragedies, Congress will do nothing because the NRA owns Congress, as I've said in prior videos. I mean, time and time again, after these tragedies, Congress does absolutely nothing. And you have the president saying that this is a mental health issue, not a gun control issue. And they're using the fact that there was someone who stopped this gunman later, who shot this gunman, used their firearm to shoot the gunman. And eventually, according to these reports, the gunman killed himself. So people are using the fact that this hero intervened with a firearm to suggest that somehow we need more guns, that will make people safe. If there were more guns in the churches, that would make the churches safe and all that kind of stuff. When the fact of the matter is we need more reasonable gun control laws in place to prevent these kind of tragedies from happening. You had Sandy Hook where some madman went and killed some innocent little kids, and still Congress didn't do a damn thing to prevent these tragedies from happening. Time and time again, you had that guy in Las Vegas. There was talk about possible changes in the gun laws back then. That guy killed all those people, and Congress hasn't done a damn thing because the NRA owns Congress. And it's up to us to hold these members of Congress responsible. We have to know our politicians' positions on gun control. And we need to make sure that they support reasonable gun control measures, because this is insane. I mean, it's gotten to a point where we become numb to this, where it means nothing that a whole bunch of people were killed. It means absolutely nothing because people are so numb to it now. It's routine now because every other day you're hearing about this. And these people that want to cry about black on black violence. These people that want to cry about black on black violence when we speak about police brutality and all that kind of stuff. You never hear them mention the words white on white violence when these types of crimes happen. When you have a white shooter killing white people, they never refer to it as white on white crime because that term, the term black on black violence is meant to deflect. It's also meant to criminalize an entire race of people. You don't even hear these bootlicking Uncle Toms using the term white on white violence. So, yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of hypocrisy here. This is just another incident that will expose just how weak Congress is when it comes to gun control. It's another example of the hypocrisy in news reporting. How they don't use the term white on white violence. They don't call this guy a terrorist. They it's just a completely different scenario, man. If this had been anybody other than a white man, it would have been called something else. It would have been called terrorism. It would have been called a thug. He would have been called this. He would have been called that. But this shows you how the media works. It shows you about popular attitudes. I mean, when these crimes occur, all of a sudden it's some mental health issue. As Donald Trump said, he said it's not a gun control issue, it's a mental health issue. This man knew what he was doing. He's not somebody that just went crazy. He knew what he was doing. And it's something about this. I mean, something that raises serious questions like, why are most of these mass shooters white men? Why is that? Nobody wants to even touch that with a 10-foot pole. What is it about this white man that makes him more prone than other groups of people to commit these kinds of atrocities? But nobody wants to touch that. But when it comes to black people, we're all grouped and categorized and stereotypes because of the actions of a few. And then, I think it made me think about like some other things, like the fact that this tragedy happened at a church, where you had all these innocent people praying, worshiping God. And it made me think about a philosophical question, like, why would God allow something like this to happen? I just thought about that. Like, why would God allow this to happen in a church? Why would he allow people who were there to worship him? At least in their minds, they were there to celebrate and praise God, and yet this tragedy occurred. Why? Just from a philosophical point of view, like, why would that happen? Like, why does evil like this in the world happen to good people? Like, when you look at, they tell us that the Jews are supposed to be the chosen people. I was listening, I listened to a song from Dead Prez where called Propaganda, where they say something about, the same God let Hitler put the Jews in the oven, and the Jews are supposed to be chosen people, at least according to their belief system. But why would that be allowed to happen? Why would there be a Holocaust? Why would there be slavery? Why would there be war? Why would there be all these atrocities committed against people who've done nothing wrong? Like, why does that happen in this world? And it just made me think about one thing, like, often that's what happens. Like, what happens is people who don't believe, they try to blame God for different things that happen. They try to use it as a reason to say that there is no God and all that kind of stuff. But when I think about that, I just think about how God's will is carried out through men. Like, men and women, we can prevent things like this from happening. And we have to use our judgment. I mean, God blessed us with reason. God blessed us with intelligence. God blessed us with physical means. So we have the means to prevent these things from happening. We have the means to prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening by enacting reasonable laws, by places of worship being more security conscious, regulating who goes in and out of their churches, having some kind of security system to prevent tragedies like this, and a tragedy that took place in Charleston, South Carolina, when Dylan Roof went into that church and killed 9 people. It's all about us using our resources to make this world a better place. God gave us all the means to make this world a better place, but we refuse to do what is necessary to make it a better place. We refuse to fight against injustice, fight against wrong that exists in this world, and we wonder why things happen. Congress refuses to act, and they wonder why these tragedies happen. So instead of like just questioning, the existence of God, or just questioning the way things play out, it's like we have to be what we want to see in the world. We have to make the difference if we want to see change in the world through our actions. Each and every one of us can lobby our members of Congress to demand that they enact reasonable gun control laws. Whether you live in a so-called blue state or a red state, you can still fight and push for changes in the laws. And you hear these people say, well, guns didn't kill these people, people killed people. The fact of the matter is, the guns make it easier for these people to commit these atrocities. I mean, if this man came in there with a knife, he wouldn't have killed that many people. If that killer in Las Vegas had a knife or some other kind of weapon besides an assault rifle that was converted into an automatic rifle, he wouldn't have been able to kill and injure that many people. So let's use our common sense and reason, man. But anyway, I just had to share my thoughts about this situation. And sadly, we'll be back here again. We'll be talking about the next mass shooting in no time soon, in a short period of time, because this is what happens. The people are numb, Congress refuses to act, and the people refuse to hold Congress accountable. They allow the NRA to hold Congress hostage, and that's despicable.